Welcome to Graha's VR podcast series. Thanks for your support. Our podcast is being listened in over 21 countries. Graha's VR podcast series covers various topics around virtual reality and other relative technological aspects.
Hi, this is Srinivasan, the founder of SquareComp Graha's VR.
Hi, this is Sriram, the co-founder of SquareComp Graha's VR.
The textbook definition of skill can be termed as the ability or expertise to do something well. It's defined as the learning ability to perform an action with a determined result. Upskilling and reskilling are a continuous process throughout a person's career. Your skill set is what is going to elevate you beyond a point, and we don't have to overstate its importance separately. In this episode, we dig deep into how virtual reality can play a key role in skilling oneself and is set to transform the future of training and knowledge transfer across the industries and sectors. Hi, Srini. This is our seventh episode, and we have discussed various different aspects of virtual reality and different industries involving the same. But skilling is a critical subject, which I believe could have been addressed even one of our earlier episodes. Also, I know it's a personal favorite too. Any specific reason we are discussing it at this juncture?
Hi, Sriram. I'm in line with what you said. Skilling and learning new things have always been my personal favorite, which in fact has transitioned into a startup for us as well. So I thought we will save the best for the last. Skilling will be a two-part series, and with the next episode of second part on skilling, we end our season 1, and after a brief hiatus, we will be back with our season 2. To answer the first part of your question, skilling with virtual reality is an interesting niche segment which requires some info and insights on its fundamentals for people new to this sector. We wanted to do a detailed analysis and focus on various aspects covering virtual reality, ranging from its inception to evolution, different industries and sectors, partner ecosystems, and technologies, and also wanted to address the lingering self-doubts of both people within and outside of the VR domain. Even if people started listening just from this episode, they could do a binge listen to all our episodes together, which will throw some light on all the basics around VR. This again is not a shameless promotion of our podcast series. It's just to give our listeners a perspective on everything about VR.
I get your point. I just gave a brief intro about skilling. Now let's get down to what is skilling with VR.
We have discussed the length and breadth of the potential and value of VR in many of our earlier episodes. We all know how virtual reality can create and recreate worlds around us. I would love to quote a line from our first episode here. Virtual reality is like a free-flowing water. It can take whatever form, shape, or color a creator wants to create. This is from the first episode. What does VR mean to you? Well, VR is more like an architect building a temple, an apartment, skyscraper, or a watchtower and barracks with the same sand and brick. But this is just in a virtual domain. Such is the power of the technology, and it can manifest itself into greater forms in the hands of a truly visionary creator. Now it all boils down to the use case. We wanted to put into effect. I don't think we have a better medium of communication and interaction than VR right now in terms of technology, which has the most engaging and interactive medium. The interactive and engaging visual medium it can emulate becomes a boon in upskilling and consuming knowledge. Even some of your most boring subjects could turn out to be the best interactive engagement one could get.
From what you said, can we take it as that the art of storytelling and communications will be redefined and transformed as with the use case?
Not just the art of storytelling, That's definitely a great beneficial factor, but it's more about the interactive element, and your ability to be a part of what you witness makes all the difference. Let's take the example of a movie watching experience. Not everybody likes a movie, it's just a proportional average majority, just like any democracy. But if you take a closer approach, many times your likes and dislikes of a movie are largely the way you experienced it as well. There was one particular experiment that was conducted in Europe wherein a single movie was watched in three different formats, one in the large IMAX 3D screens, one in the usual cinema 70 screen, and the last one was in a smartphone. You know what? Each of them, with a similar interest and taste, expressed different views and opinions about the same movie. This experiment proves that experience and the way you consume content makes all the difference.
This might be an interesting study with regards to movie watching experience. But how can we draw a parallel line of that to skilling? Or I'm not sure how this anecdote plays well with what we are discussing here.
Well, I'm not comparing watching movies with skilling here. It's more about the way a content is consumed and the underlying difference it can create. To put it simply, instead of making a kid learn a new topic or a subject, or maybe a grown up for that matter, by reading and writing, but rather let them experience what they are learning firsthand and probably have a chance of being a part of what they are learning could make a significant impact in their learning ability and increase their memory powers as well. This could make any subject interesting and engaging, and all of a sudden, you'll have many more people loving math than they do right now.
There is no second thought that VR will be more interactive and engaging medium of content consumption. But how will it enable or augment the memory powers?
This is not just blowing empty trumpets for the sake of our interest in VR, but this is based on the scientific fact on how memories can be augmented and how we can use VR to enable this particular process. This indeed requires a detailed explanation as well. So I'm going to take a few minutes on this. The following is based on numerous studies that were conducted in the past on memory by different researchers and scientists. Let me just give you a quick overview on how memory works. There are two important structures in the brain called hippocampus and amygdala, which are the primary responsible structures for memory functioning. These two structures relate and respond well with three features, which are emotion, place, and story. For instance, amygdala, the emotional center of the brain, responds strongly to emotional experience and regulates the hippocampus of our brain, which helps form more detailed and strong memory. The next one is place. Place has a particularly strong role in memory. There are certain cells in hippocampus that are specifically responsive to time and place. This is mainly the reason why, whenever you remember something vividly, you associate them with the place or location you were in that particular instance. The last part is the story. Our brains play a major role in anything that is in a story based narrative format. Instead of remembering just a bunch of jumbled words, but rather remembering them in a narrative in your own creative format, sure amplifies your recalling effect. This is the reason why, if you recall, most of the times, whenever you remember something from your own childhood or from your own life, you tend to associate them with all the other external factors like the color of the shirt that you were wearing that day, the time of the day, the place where it occurred, and most importantly, how you felt about that particular instance, which could be you felt happy, you sad, or angry. You would recall all of these things together in one particular nutshell. Now, take all of these into account: story, place, and emotion. If we can provide a subject and learning content in such a way that will trigger all of these three features in a VR format, which, as I quoted earlier, is one of the most engaging forms of content consumption, then it would definitely have a compounding effect and impact on the way you memorize these learning materials. Then I believe that would for sure change the way content is being consumed and the way people learn and memorize things.
Graha's VR is on a mission to transform industrial training with VR. Check out grahasvr.com to learn more.
Wow, this is a pretty detailed one. To simply put, shall we take it as the difference in memory people have while reading a book or a novel to watch the same content in an interactive audiovisual experience?
Yeah, it could be something similar to that to a degree of an extent.
Based on what we discussed, it sounds more audacious and theoretical at the same time. We should take this up further and try to produce results.
Sure, we could do a detailed case study on this hypothesis and measure the outcome and results, based on which further actions and solutions can be developed.
Yeah, that might be a good start. You addressed a section of skilling with memory. What are all the other pivotal concepts involved in the upskilling process?
There are several of them, one of them being focus. We discussed interactive and engaging content and all, but if the person learning isn't focused on the subject, then there is no point in learning anything. There is even a concept called focused learning, followed by lots of universities and schools, which comprises of 4 P's, which involves preparation, presentation, practice, and performance. We ourselves even did a video on how focusing on something can create a disruptive evolution about Leonardo da Vinci in our storyboard series Focus, which involved how he focused on the birds flying and formulated the design for a flying machine 4 centuries before it was even formulated. That is actually the power of focus. When you are learning or going through a training in VR, whether by will or force or by virtue, you have no other choice other than watching or experiencing the content. In virtual reality, you obviously don't have visual contact with the physical world. So there is no chance you deviate from your on-screen content. Also, there will be zero concentration lapse as well. If you look at it, there is no other medium or format which can assure or provide you 100% concentration on your content. All these are aside from the fact that it is one of the most engaging forms of medium available right now.
Yes, indeed. User will have greater focus and attention in VR. Often, when we are physically involved in a task, our mind will be racing and wandering into other things. VR could probably eliminate those misfocused approaches. As you touched on the topic of Leonardo designing a flying machine 4 centuries back, there weren't any major technologies back then. In spite of all his limitations, he was able to design it. So your point of VR augmenting focus in skilling doesn't sound like it has a profound impact. As a people, we are able to focus better without all the fancies of technology.
I totally concur with you. These are exceptional people with exceptional abilities. Leonardo da Vinci was a polymath. He was an engineer, artist, scientist, theorist, and a painter. These are the kinds of people who shape and change the course of human evolution. Maybe he can act as a testament to the will and might of human focus. In terms of equipping everyone with such potential and prowess, we need the help of technology. To give a simple analogy to your question, there are a lot of people who are experts in calculation and math, who calculate even the complex systems in their mind and are able to arrive at precise results in an instant. Now, everybody is not like this. That's why we have the need for a device like a calculator, which has evolved into different formats over the years. But It was one of the oldest and most useful devices invented ever, way back in the 16th century, finding its use to this day. This is the kind of empowerment through technology we are talking about. Not everybody is a Leonardo or a Pascal. Also, a person expert in math may not be so good at arts or other crafts of science. So we need complementary technological aspects that can solve for the greater set of people. Some people are self-motivated to learn new things and focus on aspects related to education and work. Some require a push, and some may not get into any new thing, come what may, afraid of change. We need technologies and solutions that can be solved for everyone.
This makes sense. Looks like VR based skilling could make a bad learner good, a good learner better, or probably the best. Isn't it right?
Yeah, more likely, but it also depends on the kind of content created. If you just have an unstructured, high definition visual medium, it may not emote and resonate well with the target user base. It should imbibe all the earlier mentioned features that we discussed so far, required in making a compelling narrative. Nevertheless, like any other tool or any other software platform that is available today, it needs to have a strong use case and also a good medium of execution.
Completely agreed. Is there any specific area or sector where virtual reality based skilling could be of parlance?
Virtual reality based skilling will soon become the de facto model of training and learning. This isn't some kind of futuristic fiction we are talking about. This is the kind of path the world is leading onto. As the first set of implementation and early adoption, it's happening in the enterprise end of our world. But this kind of an interactive medium will become the primary path for learning in the near future, probably within the next 5 to 10 years. Metaverse is touted to take major stake and dominance within the next decade, but VR-based skilling could become mainstream well ahead of metaverse. I'm just going to paint a picture for you here. Just imagine young kids learning about dinosaurs and ancient history, human civilization, how the first trade in the world happened, and the first sea voyage, all in an immersive VR experience, wherein they get to be a part of all of these occasions and instances. The kind of knowledge on the subject that you will impart on them through this process, it's phenomenal. The knowledge of such students who would have had about 12 to 15 years of this kind of an education, the knowledge capital of our world, would be phenomenal. With such wealth of knowledge, we could easily travel back and forth and colonize Mars or even Saturn too. That's the kind of wealth of knowledge that we are sitting on right now.
You have indeed painted a rosy picture here. I have more questions now. Probably I will save them in my memory and wait till our next episode.
Graha's VR podcast series is produced by Square Comp Solutions. Please check out grahasvr.com to reach out to us. If you like our show, please give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Follow Grahas VR in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or your favorite listening platforms. Follow our social media handles to stay updated on future episodes.